Scene 1, Slate 5, Take 1.
Oh, hi, I'm Craig. I'm the creator of The Unseen World, and I'm also the director and producer of The Crown of Thorns. Originally, The Unseen World started off as just a simple 750-word short story that I just wrote for fun. Just an introductory story about a girl who had a mysterious ghostly meeting on her landing one night. From that, we kind of devised kind of a short story from that with a bit more of depth to it, and it began to escalate into a much bigger world. And from that, I began to populate it with new characters and organisations, and then before we knew it, we had a full, thriving urban horror setting.
I was drawn to the project because at the time I had been getting cast in a lot of horror films, and this was something completely different, and having always been interested in fantasy myself, I liked the concept of there being our world that everyone saw on the surface, but then there being another sort of hidden world that only a few people could see. So it was something that I thought was really interesting and something that I would like to watch. So I was really drawn to the role of Jessica because, having children myself, I understand what it feels like to want your children to be okay and to be sort of selfless enough to do absolutely anything, regardless of the implications, to ensure your child's safety, their happiness, their well-being. And I think that's, once you've got your own children, you understand that you don't really necessarily think through the consequences of that. And I think this is very much what's happened to Jessica, is she felt like she had no choice, and she would do anything to protect her daughter.
I wanted to create likeable characters that you want to care about, or you want to hate, or in the cases of one of the characters, you love to hate. The idea is I wanted you to sit down and basically see parallels with characters you've seen in other films, such as, for example, you've got Sarah Connor in The Terminator, how she starts off as very innocent, and by the end of it she's become a very self-confident survivalist. And this parallel could be drawn to the character of Sophie, who starts off as a very innocent, normal girl who, over the course of the episodes in The Unseen World, and predominantly The Crown of Thorns, we'll see her begin to understand just the world that she's part of, and how that's basically going to develop her, and as she begins to understand the power she has, but also the danger that brings.
It's very rare that you come across a fantasy script that's slightly different. There's a lot that's, I read a lot, and they all kind of start, and end in the same way. And I find the main women in it are survivors, but they've lost a lot of innocence or naivety, and usually that's in the process of becoming a survivor. But I was really interested in the fact that Sophie, that's her strength in this. Like, she, even though she's quite naive at the beginning and she is learning bits, she's still, that's what makes the crown work. That's, that is her superpower in this. And I was just very interested to see how she would survive in this world with that, and whether she'd retain that.
The Unseen World is a world like ours, but with those elements to it. They can see, if it's the supernatural, they can expect to see characters of myth and legend. The creatures that you're told don't exist, you're going to see the presence of magic, things that can't be explained, and the lengths that people have gone to keep these things concealed. And also the predominant thing, which would be the veil. And the explanation of why people can't see the unseen world as it is.
But I think what's interesting about the project is that it takes sort of elements of fantasy, a little bit of horror as well, and then a lot of more or less sort of established religious things as well, and then puts it in the bags and shakes it up and rolls it out there. So I think that's probably the most interesting thing about the project. That there's so many strands, so many storylines to go down. So as a web series, I think it's the perfect sort of concept.
One of my main inspirations behind the Unseen World is the unexplained, and the idea is we take an unexplained phenomenon and we basically play about with it and create our own spin on it. In this day and age, lots of scientific discoveries and the amount of technology things we have now, it's very hard to find things that can't be explained anymore, and I'd like to basically give a twist in that there are still the exciting unexplained elements in the world that we are still trying to explain.
In The Crown of Thorns, you can expect to see lovely character-driven narrative. There's some fantastic, strong characters in there. That's another thing that drew me to the project. There's also a lot of female protagonists and main roles in there, which I like because I think quite often scripts are very heavily male-dominated, and I think it's really nice to have something a bit different, but it's not playing on people being girls and falling into those natural categories.
I watched the development of the project on Facebook, and I could see the attention that it was getting. I thought, well, I'll have a look at this, and read the script, range of characters, but one, Gerald, really drew me, so I thought, have a go at playing Gerald. He's evil. Yeah, I mean, he doesn't see himself as evil. He just enjoys the game of manipulating, moving the pieces, and doing what he needs to. And power. Gerald's powerful.
Basically, what I wanted to do is give people something to go home and think about. Why did all the sailors on board the Marie Celeste disappear? Well, in the Unseen World it was mermaids, but in real life, what was it? So it's just the idea is to encourage people to go away and just decide, you know, just what it was, and maybe have a look into these ideas and things that have inspired the events in the Unseen World. We've filmed on 2 locations so far. We've filmed on the location for what will be Sophie's house, and we've also filmed on location which would be Gerald's law firm. We had a very strict time frame, and obviously we had to get the crew and cast together. We had a lot of fun doing it. Obviously if we did it again we'd probably do it differently now, but it was a great experience. It's been a great learning curve. We have a large network of sites within social media. There is Unseen World pages on both Facebook and Twitter. We also now have an Unseen World YouTube channel as well. As we produce more satellite films and develop the Crown of Thorns more, then they have their own individual pages as well, which will be used to promote the individual programs, but all of that will filter directly into the individual channels as well. It was refreshing and reassuring that people began to want to become involved and jump on board the project. The charitability of the people in the South Yorkshire Film Network and the people around Yorkshire. I've had people come and supply their experience and their high-end filmmaking equipment and knowledge, which has helped greatly, especially with support from Robert Beck as the cinematographer. That's helped greatly getting us the content filmed. The cast, I've had people coming up from as far down as the south of England who have paid their own way, and that's all to help support this project. Obviously we wouldn't have been able to get to where we are now without them making that commitment, and because of that I'm extremely thankful.